What if self-discipline was never meant to be a whip, my dear, but a warm hand in the small of your back, gently guiding you in the direction you truly want to go? I know for so many of you, the word discipline feels heavy, like a school teacher with a ruler, like a life where you never get to rest, never get to enjoy, always have to do better. But what if we softened that today? What if self-discipline simply meant I care enough about myself to follow through on what truly matters to me? You see, when you think of discipline as punishment, of course you resist it. Of course you procrastinate. Of course some part of you says, no, I won't. You are not lazy. You are rebelling against being treated harshly. When we bring love in, everything changes. Self-discipline becomes the willingness to delay a small, shallow comfort now so you can feel a deeper, softer comfort later. It is not about making your life miserable. It is about choosing a joy that lasts longer than 5 minutes. It is not about fighting yourself. It is about walking yourself home. I want you to hear this very clearly. Discipline is not the absence of pleasure. It is the art of choosing a wiser pleasure. When you say no to staying up too late, you are saying yes to waking up clearer and kinder tomorrow. When you say no to scrolling for an hour in bed, you are saying yes to a mind that can think, feel, and create. You are always choosing some kind of comfort. Self-discipline simply asks, which comfort will feel good to me tomorrow? Not only right now. This is what I call making a loving contract with your future self. Every time you keep that tiny promise, drinking the water, moving your body, turning off the screen, doing the one important task you are telling that future self, I haven't forgotten you. I'm taking care of you already. And each time you do that, your self-respect grows just a little more. You stand a little taller inside. You begin to feel, oh, I can rely on me. So I want you to plant this affirmation in your heart. I keep my word to myself. Say it gently. Say it often. Say it as if you are comforting a child who is learning to trust again. Now, let's talk about the first pillar of gentle discipline. Clarity. You cannot be disciplined toward a fog. When you don't really know what you're living for, every effort feels forced. You drag yourself because it doesn't feel connected to anything real. So instead of demanding more willpower, I want you to ask, why does this matter to my heart? Your reason does not have to be dramatic or impressive. It doesn't need to sound good on social media. It only needs to be true. Perhaps you want to sleep earlier because you are tired of feeling like a ghost in your own life. Perhaps you want to take care of your body because you want to be able to run with your children, or to walk up the stairs without pain, or simply to look in the mirror and feel at peace. These are quiet reasons, but they are powerful. I'd like you to create what I call your one-sentence reason. Just one sentence that feels honest, not heroic. Something like, I choose to change because I am tired of abandoning myself. Or, I choose to build new habits because I deserve to feel proud of myself. When the mind wants to give up, you don't scream at it, you simply remind it, love, remember why we started. Clarity also means being honest about what makes you weaker. A disciplined person is not someone with no desires. It is someone who has learned to notice what drains their energy and gently limit it. I want you to think of 3 things that almost every time you indulge too much, you feel empty afterward. It might be a certain kind of conversation that always leaves you tight in the chest. It might be a late-night habit that steals your sleep. It might be a way of talking to yourself that turns every small mistake into a trial. You are not judging these things. You are observing them, like a wise gardener noticing which plants are choking the others. You write them down. When I spend too long here, I feel small, I feel anxious, I feel heavy. And then, very softly, you say to yourself, I am willing to place loving limits on what drains me. Not total bans, not dramatic vows, just limits that acknowledge you matter. This is clarity. This is the first pillar. Knowing what you are moving toward and what you are gently moving away from. The second pillar of gentle self-discipline is truth. Being honest about the little habits that quietly make your life harder. Most of us are not ruined by enormous decisions. We are worn down by the small things we keep avoiding. There is always that one obvious thing in the corner of your awareness, isn't there? A conversation you need to have, a bill you need to open, a task you need to start, a health check you keep postponing. You walk around it like there's an elephant in the hallway, pretending not to notice, and yet it presses on your chest all day long. I am not scolding you, my dear. I understand this so well. We avoid because we are afraid of discomfort, of disappointment, of not being good enough. But the avoidance itself becomes a constant source of anxiety. So today, instead of calling yourself weak, I want you to be honest and tender. You can say, yes, I see that I'm avoiding this, and I understand why. But I love myself too much to keep walking around it forever. Here's a little practice for you. Each morning, rather than writing a long to-do list that overwhelms you, I want you to ask one simple question. If I did just one thing today that would make this day feel kind and successful, what would it be? Not 5 things, not 20 things, just one. Maybe it is making that phone call. Maybe it is finally organizing that one drawer. Maybe it is sitting down with your finances for 10 minutes. Maybe it is booking a doctor's appointment. Choose the one thing that, if you did it, your whole nervous system would sigh with relief and say, thank you. That is your truth task for the day. You don't threaten yourself into doing it. You see the peace on the other side, and you walk gently toward that peace. When you finish it, even if nothing else gets done, you pause and tell yourself, I did something important for me today. I am proud of myself. This is how discipline becomes a source of calm, not pressure. Truth also means we stop using guilt as our main tool. Guilt says, what's wrong with you? Why can't you get it together? Love asks, what in you is hurting so much that it is hard to move? Can you feel the difference in your body when you hear those 2 voices? One makes you shrink. The other makes you soften. So the next time you find yourself reaching for an old habit, instead of shouting, why am I like this? Try asking, what part of me is needing comfort right now? Maybe the scrolling is a way to escape a loneliness you haven't named yet. Maybe the overeating is a way to fill a space where you feel unseen. Maybe the procrastination is a shield against the terror of failing. When you become curious instead of cruel, your habits become messages, not verdicts. And when you really listen, you can offer that frightened part of you something better than another round of self-sabotage. This is what I mean when I say that real discipline must walk hand in hand with healing. You cannot bully a wounded child into running a marathon, but you can sit beside them, hold their hand, and say, "We will take one small step together, and I will not leave you." That is how I want you to treat yourself. Look at the patterns you are ashamed of and say, "These are old ways I learned to cope. I am not bad. I am growing." Let your discipline come from this place. I am changing because I love myself, not because I hate who I am. The more honest and gentle you become with yourself, the easier it will be to do the hard, necessary things. Not because you are forcing yourself, but because you finally feel safe enough inside to move. And that is where we will go next, together, deeper into these pillars, into the soft power of small, loving actions that build a steady, trustworthy you. So now that we've softened the way you see discipline and told the truth about the habits that quietly drain you, let's talk about something your mind really understands: repetition. Your mind does not change because you had one big breakthrough at 3 a.m, my dear. It changes because you do something small over and over until it feels normal. Discipline does not begin with a burst of determination. It begins with a simple design that makes the right thing easy enough to actually do. Think of a train. It does not move because it is stronger today. It moves because there are rails under it. In the same way, you don't need to be a stronger person to be more disciplined. You need rails, little structures that guide you in the direction you already chose. That might mean putting your workout clothes where you will trip over them. It might mean leaving your journal open on your pillow so you see it before you sleep. It might mean putting your phone in another room so the first thing you see in the morning is your own life, not everyone else's drama. These are not signs of weakness. These are signs of wisdom. You are not supposed to fight the same battle every day if you can move the furniture once and make it easier. I like to call this small enough to succeed. When you are designing a new habit, I want you to make it so small that your mind cannot reasonably argue with it. If you tell yourself, "From tomorrow I will meditate for an hour, run 5 miles, and never touch sugar again," some part of you laughs and another part panics. But if you say, "Tomorrow I will sit quietly for 2 minutes with my hand on my heart," your nervous system relaxes and says, "Oh, I can do that." We are not trying to impress anyone here. We are trying to create a life you can actually live. You can ask yourself, if my mind is like a gentle child today, what is one tiny action that would still move us forward? Perhaps you place a glass of water on your bedside table so you drink before you scroll. Perhaps you put your notebook where your laptop usually lives, so you write 2 sentences before you open any screens. These are switches. These are the little clicks that tell your mind, this is the direction we go now. Over time, repetition is what convinces your mind that you are serious, not the big speeches you give yourself once a month. And when it comes time to begin, I want you to remember the 2-minute start. Your mind does not hate doing the thing. It mostly hates beginning the thing. Starting is where all the arguments live. So we soften that. You tell yourself, I will do this for 2 minutes, and then I am allowed to stop. 2 minutes of tidying, 2 minutes of walking, 2 minutes of reading something nourishing instead of scrolling, 2 minutes of speaking kindly to yourself in the mirror. You will be amazed how often, once you are already moving, it feels easier to keep going than to stop. But here is the secret. Even if you do stop after 2 minutes, you still win. Why? Because you have taught your mind that when you give a gentle instruction, you follow through. You have begun to repair the trust between you, and that trust, built in tiny repetitions, is the heart of self-discipline. So, instead of saying, tomorrow I will be a completely new person, I want you to begin saying, tomorrow I will show up in one small way, and I will do it again and again and again. Little steps, many times. The mind believes what it sees, repeated. Now, let's talk about responsibility, but in a way that does not make your shoulders tighten. Many of you have learned to associate responsibility with being controlled, blamed, or overburdened. In my world, responsibility is very different. Responsibility means I am willing to respond to my own life. It is not a sentence. It is a support. You do not have to carry everything alone, but you do have a say in how you show up. Sometimes, what helps the most is having what I call a healing tribe, a person or a small group that reminds you who you are when your mind wants to bargain its way back into old patterns. When you are alone with your thoughts, it is very easy to make secret deals. I will start tomorrow. I will skip just this once. It doesn't matter that much. But when you know you will send a message to a friend and say, I did my 2 minutes, you feel held. You remember that you are not the only one learning how to keep your word to yourself. Of course, this tribe must be chosen with care. This is not about finding someone to judge you or shame you into action. That would only repeat the old pattern of forcing. You are looking for people who say, I understand. I forget my promises to myself too. Let's gently bring each other back. You can be that person for someone else as well. You might agree to a weekly check-in where you simply share one small win and one gentle intention for the week to come. You are not comparing, you are witnessing each other. That witnessing is a sacred responsibility. I will remember your intention with you when you forget. And if you don't have anyone right now, you can begin by making your journal your tribe. Each morning you write, today I intend. And each evening you write, today I showed up by. This too is a form of loving responsibility. There is another kind of responsibility you carry every day, often without realizing it, the responsibility of your words. Every complaint you repeat is an old command. Every gentle encouragement you repeat is a new one. When you say, I never follow through. You are not just describing, you are instructing. You are handing your subconscious a script to act out. When you say, I'm so undisciplined, you are telling your mind what role to play. Instead, I want you to become very aware of how you speak about yourself, especially out loud. You can catch yourself and say, no, that is the old story. I am not repeating that today. And then you offer yourself a new sentence, even if it feels awkward at first. You might say, I am learning to be consistent. You might say, I am becoming someone I can rely on. You might say, every day, I get a little better at keeping my promises to myself. They do not have to be perfect. They only have to be kind and repeated. Over time, this is how responsibility stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like a warm hand on your back, guiding you forward. Now, let's soften into the final pillar, reward. Your beautiful brain, like a child, needs to feel that its efforts matter. If you only ever point out what you did not do, you train your mind to associate discipline with failure, with never enough, with a constant moving target. Of course, you will not want to keep trying if every day ends with a list of where you fell short. I want you to understand that reward in this context is not about spoiling yourself or undoing your work. It is about recognition. It is about saying, I see what you did, and it counts. Your mind needs to feel progress to stay willing. When you only stare at the distance between where you are and where you want to be, the journey feels endless and hopeless. But when you regularly look back and see how far you've already walked, your heart lifts. You think, oh, I am not stuck. I am moving. So I have a little evening ritual for you, something I like to call celebrate small wins. At the end of each day, instead of automatically reviewing your failures, I want you to sit for a moment on the edge of your bed, at your kitchen table, in your favorite chair, and write 3 lines that begin with, today I. It might be, today I drank water before coffee. Today I answered 1 email I have been avoiding. Today I spoke to myself more kindly after a mistake. They can be tiny. They can be almost invisible to anyone else. But to your subconscious, they are proof. Progress equals proof. You are showing your inner child, look, we are doing it. We are not who we were 6 months ago. And when you are finished, I would love for you to go to a mirror, look into your own eyes, and say, I'm proud of you. You may cry the first few times. That's all right. Those are old layers of self-criticism leaving your body. Stay with it. Let your face see approval instead of judgment at the end of the day. Over time, this becomes your new habit loop, a small, loving action, a sense of progress, a gentle inner reward, more willingness to act tomorrow. You begin to notice that you no longer need to wait for the world to clap for you. You become your own steady source of encouragement. And as you do that, discipline stops feeling like a constant battle and becomes a rhythm of kindness. You design tiny rails so you don't have to wrestle your willpower every morning. You repeat little actions until your mind believes you. You surround yourself inside and out with voices that say, We are learning. We are growing. We are not giving up. You hold yourself accountable with love, not fear. And you mark each step with recognition instead of criticism. This is what I mean by self-discipline without forcing yourself. You are not beating yourself into shape. You are building a life where your actions finally match how deeply you deserve to be cared for. Have you ever noticed how the moment you start doing better, a little voice whispers, "You're fine now. You don't have to keep this up"? And that is exactly when the old habits quietly knock on the door. My dear, this is one of the most important moments in your self-discipline journey, because real discipline is not only about how you begin, it's about how you live when things start to improve. Many people lose half of their progress not because they are weak, but because they relax into self-forgetfulness instead of relaxing into self-respect. When you finally feel lighter, when your body feels a little better, when your work is more stable, there is a temptation to reward yourself by dropping the very habits that brought you to that place. The mind says, "I'm okay now. I don't have to do this anymore." And if you listen blindly to that voice, you slowly loosen your grip on the practices that were healing you. I want you to hear this with so much love. You don't have to live like a soldier, but you also don't need to throw away the gentle routines that are quietly saving your life. Instead of stopping completely, we create what I call a soft, loving foundation, a minimum baseline. That means even on your messy days, your tired days, your I don't care days, you still keep 5 minutes for the habits that support you. 5 minutes of movement, 5 minutes of writing, 5 minutes of breathing, 5 minutes of spiritual practice. It doesn't have to be big or dramatic. It just has to be honest and consistent. When you do this, you send a beautiful message to your subconscious. I am someone who takes care of me, even when life gets busy, even when I don't feel like it. That is how discipline becomes identity, not just a phase. I have seen so many people work very hard for a few weeks, then stop completely the moment life gets a little easier, as if discipline were only a thing you do when you are in trouble. They say, "I'm fine now," and what they really mean is, "Now I can go back to the old way." And then, when the old pain returns, they blame themselves instead of understanding the pattern. I don't want that for you. I want you to learn a softer wisdom. When progress arrives, you don't abandon the habits. You simply soften the intensity. If you used to meditate for 20 minutes, maybe in a busy season you do 5. If you used to exercise for an hour, maybe now you walk for 10 minutes. Instead of all or nothing, we practice always something. This is how you keep the door open for your future self. Remember, self-discipline that lasts is not made of heroic bursts. It is made of gentle repetitions. I would much rather you do a small, loving thing every day for a year than a big, exhausting thing for 1 week and then collapse into guilt. Small steps create big change. Each time you honor your minimum baseline, you create a little bridge of trust inside yourself. Your inner child learns, I can count on us. We don't disappear when life gets easier. We stay. Now, what happens when you do slip? Because you will, darling. Everyone does. There will be days when you forget the habit, when you eat the thing you promised to reduce, when you skip the practice that keeps you grounded. That is not proof that you are a failure. That is proof that you are human. The real danger is not in the slipping. The real danger is in what you say to yourself after you slip. If you turn every misstep into a trial where you are judge, jury, and executioner, you will slowly convince yourself that you are hopeless. And hopelessness kills discipline faster than any distraction ever could. When you fall and you attack yourself, you are trying to use shame as a tool for change. But shame does not build anything. It only breaks. True self-discipline is born from self-respect, and self-respect is completely incompatible with verbal violence toward yourself. So the next time you wake up and realize, oh, I've gone 3 days without doing my practice, I want you to pause, take a breath, soften your shoulders, and say very gently, I forgive myself. I begin again. Feel the softness of that. Notice how different it is from what's wrong with me or I'll never get it right. One way pushes you back into the mud. The other way offers you a hand to stand up. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be present. When you forgive yourself quickly, you shorten the gap between the slip and the restart. That little gap is where most people lose months and years of their life. They fall once, then spend weeks hating themselves for it, and the hatred drains every drop of motivation. I want you to treat each slip like a little child learning to walk. You don't yell at the child for falling. You smile, you lift them, you say, let's try again. You can put your hand on your heart right now and whisper, this is a tender moment. I will be gentle with myself. Then you choose one tiny action to come back into alignment. Drink a glass of water, stretch for 2 minutes, write one kind sentence about yourself, say one affirmation in the mirror. That is all. Discipline is not a punishment after you fall. It is the bridge that brings you back home. With each gentle restart, you are proving to yourself that you are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the sum of your returns. And now, as we close this time together, I want to gather everything we've explored about self-discipline and wrap it in love. Discipline, the way I teach it, is not a cold voice in your head saying, do better. It is a warm, steady presence inside you, whispering, I am here, and I will walk with you. When you choose habits that support you, when you keep your promises to yourself, when you forgive yourself quickly and begin again, you are practicing a very mature kind of love. This is love with feet. This is love that shows up in your mornings, in your food choices, in your schedule, in your boundaries. And little by little, as you keep walking this way, you stop seeing yourself as someone who is always trying and failing, and start seeing yourself as someone who quietly, steadily shows up. So let's anchor this with a few simple, powerful declarations. You can say them with me, either out loud or inside your heart. I choose what supports me. I choose what supports me. I choose what supports me. I keep my promises to myself. I keep my promises to myself. I keep my promises to myself. I am becoming consistent with love. I am becoming consistent with love. I am becoming consistent with love. And now, let's bless your journey with some gentle affirmations you can return to every day. Let them wash over you like warm water. You can repeat them after me, slowly, as if you are talking to someone very precious, because you are. I am gentle and consistent. I keep my word to myself. Small steps create big change. I choose long-term peace over short-term escape. It is safe for me to grow. I celebrate my progress. All is well, and I begin again today. Take a soft breath in and let it go. Your self-discipline is not a prison. It is a loving structure that keeps you safe, growing, and alive. You are doing better than you think, my dear. And every time you come back to yourself with kindness, you are rewriting your entire life.